I'd like to start this morning with a quote from Maya Angelou. This morning, this morning? Hello. Mike okay? Yeah. Whew. This morning, I looked down right through your anguish, right down deep into your soul. I know that this is true, that with each other, we can make each other whole. I think that's what this community is all about. It's supporting each other and remembering who we are. You know, in preparation for this talk, I have started a practice, and Elijah just giggles when he walks through the room. And I decided to immerse myself in nothing but spiritual TV, spiritual YouTube, spiritual everything, books. Michael Beckwith said, you know, why don't you binge watch your thoughts this week? It's like, okay, binge watch my thoughts. Well, let me tell you, that was like chasing 100 toddlers every 30 seconds. It's like, whoa, where are we going? But interestingly enough, I allowed myself 1 hour of news on Monday. And when I watched the news, it was really interesting how the world's consciousness, our race consciousness, is in alignment this week with what's going on in the world. And that is that the whistleblower that worked for Facebook, right, talked about the harm that is going on to our souls in social media. And we are at a crossroads right now where we are trudging dangerous territory because we are becoming alienated in social media from nature, for true belonging, and from each other. Not that Facebook is bad, but the tool that Facebook is providing has been misused. Yes. Okay? And so now even Congress is coming up with all these research methodologies that is saying from all the researchers, people are getting sick, people are committing suicide, people are getting images and thoughts that are not supporting the best of us. And it's dangerous because not only are we becoming alienated, we are going down a road that can create genocide. And if you don't believe that, there is a dark web out there, right? So, what do? We are, in my opinion, spiritual warriors. Yes, God. And being a spiritual warriors, it's the opposite of what we think a warrior should do. We are to walk in the world with courage and bravery, but no armor. We must have a strong back to be able to stand alone in the face of racism, in the face of hate, in the face of unkindness, and have our voice. However, the only way to have true belonging is to have an open heart. And that means we have to be vulnerable. You know, and especially for men, I felt bad when I was reading Brené Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness, The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone. Because I think men even have it a little tougher with vulnerability because of all the stuff around masculinity. And vulnerability means you have to get out there and take an emotional risk. You have to be open to one another. You have to be open to new ideas. You have to be open to people. You have to meet people up close and personal. And that's scary. Why? We all want to belong. And darn it, rejection's tough. A broken heart is tough. I know for myself, I stepped out of relationship after my divorce, and then I stepped in a few more times and stepped out for a long time. I didn't want my heart broken. I'm not going to do that. Heck no. So what we're called to do is with every thought that we think, every word that we speak, has got to be in alignment. It's our work. I mean, this is all, people used to say, oh, this is so Pollyanny, and oh, isn't that nice? Everybody loves everybody, No, this is deep soul work. Woo. Amen. So I want to tell you that braving the wilderness, is challenging. Your thoughts, your conditioned mind, how you're wired, because you're wired by your conditioning and your perceptions that you've created between these two things called your ears. And then the brain signals the body to have an emotional experience because, see, emotions are the language of the body and thoughts are the language of the brain. And we have to train our brain, and that's difficult. Because sometimes it's just not fun. It's not comfortable. You can't run away from it, hide from it. And our brain is wired, if we feel that we are not safe, to what? Fight, run, and the new one from Joe Dispenza is hide. And I really think that is so true, because if you look in nature, that's what animals do. They hide. Sometimes, for they're camouflaged to hide. And we've been in a long winter season of COVID where we were down in our bunkers in our own world. And most of us took our information from the media. And we are called right now to take responsibility as a spiritual warrior, to step out with an open heart and a strong back, to stand up and strong, but to be vulnerable, to take risks, to do things differently than we've done before. That's part of this community. It's part of the evolution. Yes, this is a safe place, but I guarantee you, this doesn't mean you're not going to be hurt in here. That doesn't mean you're not going to have an opportunity for growth. And growth means you get to confront your stuff. So really quickly, I'm going to tell you what happened with me through the week. So, I'm watching my thoughts. I'm submerged in spiritual stuff. And one of my sons goes, oh, my side, it hurts. So I'm taking him to the urgent care. My other son goes, my tooth. And I was like, got it, emergency dental care. So I'm driving from Gilroy to Morgan Hill because their doctors are in different places. And I'm thinking, hold it, don't go there, just keep your peace, And so I was like, got through the day, and everybody was okay. And I was like, got through, boy, Spirit, you're really giving me a test here. Then I got a text. The text said, did you clear out your bank with Chase Mortgage? And I'm like, what? Is this a joke? This has got to be a joke. And I was like, no. And they go, Chase, J.P. Morgan associate will be with you in a few minutes. I'm like, what? I was like, no. So I get a phone call, and someone hacked my account and took all my money. And I was like, this is difficult. And this isn't fun either, So the difference is, here's the difference. And it may seem small, but I don't think so. I didn't trip out to my Chicken Little story. The sky is falling, They took all my money. Now, did I share that people took my money? Yes. But I had this sense of peace that it was going to be okay. And the guy on the other end was from India, and he had the greatest voice. I was like in meditation, and he was just so soothing, and I thanked him. And I said, do I go to the bank? And he goes, no, you have to wait 24 hours. I was like, okay. So I had to wait 24 hours. And when I woke up that morning, one of my boys comes to me and says, "How you doing? How are you doing? Did you sleep last night?" I said, "Actually, I'm fine, and I slept well." Big difference that the external didn't grab my throat and take me down, you know? And that's the practice. Stuff still happens. Stuff still happens. Are we responding or are we reacting? And when I went to the bank, real quickly, there were two wonderful young men of color, and I went in there smiling, and I sat down, and they were very apologetic, and we got into a conversation about why people feel the need to harm each other. And then it got into incarceration, systemic racism. And it was just like this wonderful conversation that was really inspiring, but most importantly, it connected me with these two humans I've never met before. And after 45 minutes, because it wasn't about the money, we did the business. But one of the men came by, and before I left, and he goes, "Tamara," he called me. He put his hands on his chest and he goes, "I feel inspired. Thank you." What a different conversation I navigated for myself and therefore the people around me. It's contagious, right? And through this time, Brene Brown talks about we're at a critical, either we here as spiritual warriors, we do the tipping of the critical mass. Because it only takes a certain amount of people in our society to tip our global perspective. That's what we are called to do. That's what you are called to do. That's what I am called to do. Okay. It's not. Are you there? Good. Okay, Elijah, I get a few more minutes. So that's what we're called to do. And that is why community is so important. That's why this community is so important. Yes, you're going to show up. Yes, you're going to have your spiritual warrior consciousness on, so that when stuff happens, we are prepared to go into battle with love and vulnerability. Because no matter how painful that is, it's healing. It's a place where healing takes place, creativity takes place, authenticity takes place, joy takes place, everything we want to experience. I want to tell a story, and again, Brene Brown goes into this quite a bit. We have to be responsible for the things we don't like, to not dehumanize people in the process of what we don't like. Because we will then be contributing to the opposite of what we say we stand for. If Eric Trump says liberals or Democrats are not even human, and we are in shock, we should then be in shock when Hillary Clinton says that Trump's supporters are deplorables. We cannot stand in our own prejudices any longer. We have to have humanity first. Yes, we have to call out, absolutely, the things that are not right. Stand up for justice and social justice. But enough name-calling. So, anyway, there's a little story in there. And she walked into her friend's house, and there was a pillow on the couch, and it said, "If you don't have anything nice to say, sit next to me." And why is that? Because if you think about it, the fastest way to make a friend is to find an enemy together that you both don't like. You know? Start a conversation. And it's easy, right? You commiserate about what you don't like in the world. How are we talking? How are we moving? How are we navigating? What kind of conversations are we having? Them and us. Right? And one of the things I really realized was, that's not for me. I need to navigate different conversation. And so that's what I'm asking of myself and I'm asking of you, to start looking how we can navigate different conversations. And I have to tell you this. You know, I was driving and I was in a hurry, and this guy was coming around a stop sign, and he stopped at the stop sign, and then he made a right turn, and then he just stopped there, and there was parked cars on the right of him and traffic coming on the left. I'm like, come on, dude, make up your mind. You know how you are behind the wheel sometimes. I don't know, maybe you're more enlightened than I am. So I was like, come on, dude, what's going on? So I did the little the little honk, beep. Not a long one, just a nice one. Beep. And he then moves forward, and he is not happy. And he sticks his hand out, his arm out of the window, and he goes, get away, come on, get around me. I was like, ooh, lordy, that man is not happy. So I'm going to pass him with 2 inches. The windows are down. I'm like, oh. And I'm thinking, it's a young man. He's got his tank top on. But I could tell he's really angry. The vibe of his moving of his arms. And I come alongside him, and he's like, oh, shit. Oh, sorry. My bad. And I go, if I give him a peace sign, he's going to flip me off. He's going to give me the finger because he's not in a good space. So I go, in a split second, I said, okay, Spirit, tell me what to do. So I got next to him, and I blew him a kiss and said, thank you, thank you. In one instant, you know what that guy was doing? He was smiling, and he threw me back 10 more kisses. One instant, one moment, a shift in the paradigm. People are walking around in their pain bodies. People are walking around in anguish and suffering. The only way to uplift that is to be aware in the present moment that it's our job to love one another. And it's our job to watch our conversation. Am I using language that lifts up? Or is it just, I'm going to tell you, it's very seductive to gossip. It's very seductive. And I am not beyond doing that. But when we make connections from those kinds of conversations, they're not true connections. And they're not about the business of why we're here with the mission that we have, and why we're here as spiritual warriors, and why we're here and show up, why you're sitting here. We're sitting here to transform the landscape we're navigating. And one of my college friends called me up and she goes, oh, how you doing? I go, fine. She goes, Tamara, I was sitting there talking to some of our college friends, and they got into a cat fight, and now they're not talking, and they blocked each other from Facebook, and, it's just so high school. And I was like, yeah. And I thought about it, and I thought, I said, maybe we should be having a different conversation by learning about what kind of questions we can ask people to get to the bottom of what they're feeling, what they're needing. Again, sometimes when we gossip, it's the way we've been conditioned to navigate conversation and friendships. Let's forge the wilderness to find out what questions we can ask to go deeper and have different conversations. Not put anybody in shame by, oh, you're gossiping. Look at, oh, you're not very evolved. No, it's a call, it's a cry. It's a cry to experience something that they don't know. And sometimes I don't know how to navigate that. We navigate it by our intention that what we say and what we do is for healing. That doesn't mean that we're not uncomfortable. And some people may get really angry with us because we're not playing the game. And we will feel pain for being ostracized. But on the other side, how glorious it will be to have conversations with people. And it's not just with each other that we have problems, or it's easy to talk to people who think like you, feel like you, and have the same intentions as you. But when we're out there in the world, and like my friend says, they're acting like high school, How do we heal that situation? We heal it through finding a dialogue that asks different questions, deeper questions, so that we could all come together and heal. And this is in my living room, and this is going to be my closing prayer. It says, one smile can start a friendship. One word can end a fight. One look could save a relationship. One person can change a life. That's you. Love and namaste.